Well, we got a new motor for the old IDI. It's been it's had a motor out of it for I don't know, since last March, something like that. Yeah, I took it out, and so I ended up taking it to a machine shop, and it's taken forever, and I want all the fancy whiz bang parts on it. So that project is still going to continue, but I got this minty little devil in the hills, somewhere back in the hills of West Virginia, for next to nothing. So tomorrow morning we're gonna do a good old test run. It's even got oil in it. So got my 2 batteries charged up. Should be ready to go. There's my scrap pile for the actual motor that's gonna be somewhat decent, but that's just all scrap. Actually, not these. These are gonna go on that eventually. Well, it's getting closer to lighting off. I put this flywheel on this morning, torqued it down, rigged up this oil pressure gauge right here just to see if it actually pumps any oil. Topped off the oil because it was kind of low, and I bent this fan back out so it's somewhat acceptable. It doesn't rub on the crank anymore, so that's good. And I freed up it wasn't the motor wasn't locked up, so that's cool. It does have some compression, so I think it might be time to wire up the starter and the fuel shut off and the glow plugs, and see if we can get some fuel to the injectors and see if it'll kick over. But yep, that's it. Well, just as a reference, black and pink are the glow plug button, and they actually do work. The contactor works. The wires are. It's good. It works. Okay. And the next thing I got to get working is this side of this contactor here and the e-stop. So shouldn't be a big deal. All right, we got fuel pump going, barely. Fuel leaking out everywhere. I think that switch is on. Holy shit, this is a terrible idea. Let's go! Well, it's time for a little Bill Cosby in a can. I think she's about ready to go. Well, it's time for a little Bill Cosby in a can. Alright, turn this on. Make sure it's on idle. Give it a little go. Oh ho! Running on all 8. That's good. I was wondering where my glove went. This crazy dog wants the glove in the middle of the field. But anyway, this epicness is happening right now. The lift it's not frozen into the ground, but it won't, it's sinking down into the half frozen mud. So yeah, this is nuts. But it's really not that nuts though. I'm just pulling the truck towards the engine here, and I got to cut off the exhaust still, so it'll drop down in there. I changed the throwout bearing, and I was talking to someone on this page, and yeah, those Luck throwout bearings are complete garbage. So don't buy those. Or if you buy the actual luck clutch itself is supposedly pretty good, but I guess we'll see. Yeah, this is by far the craziest, like, you know, stuff I've done with, like, you know, these old trucks of mine. But yeah, I'm glad I only have one project for now, but should be in there. That'd be cool. I was hoping to have it in there this weekend, but I mean, we're pretty close. I got bell housing bolts. I couldn't find the other ones. They were buried in the truck bed snow, but yeah, more next weekend. Well, I'm doing a little more work on it this weekend. As you can tell, the motor's a little closer to the truck than it was last weekend, but I put new manifolds on it. Well, they're not new, but they're from the old motor. I painted them, and I wanted to put the old ones back on because they're already drilled. Well, this one's already drilled for a pyrometer, and there's one already running up to the pillar there. But we're pretty close. Got to line the transmission up. It's gonna be tight, but I don't know. We'll see. Trying to think of a plan B without dropping the transmission, but I mean, if I have to do that, you know, so be it. It's that you know, it'll just be a setback, but that's not really that big of a deal. But I'm thinking it's pretty close, actually. I mean, so if you look there, it's, you know, within inches of the actual clutch, and it you know, it needs to drop down about, I don't know, probably a little over a foot, but yeah, it's gonna be close. But I know I can lift the transmission up some, and I pulled the, I guess I'll have to take the slave cylinder off too, but because it's gonna probably press on that clutch a little bit. It shouldn't. Well, I'll just take it off the slave here, and should be fine. But yeah, it's coming along pretty nicely. Well, back at this project again. Took a couple weeks off, but you know, the weather's a lot better now. But anyway, it's a little closer to where it should be. So I went to Tractor Supply and got a 12-inch piece of 1/2-inch all thread and cut it in two, so two 6-inch pieces. For those math whizzes out there. But yeah, it's so I cut those pieces of all thread and made some you know, alignment pins just to line the motor and the transmission up. You know, I was worried about having to drop this transmission the whole time, but you don't need to. It's pretty close there. You know, a lot of oil pans you see, I'm wondering why they're always dented, but there's a little bolt right here, and you know, something tells me that that bolt just crunched that in on a lot of these motors that are taken in and out of these trucks. But anyway, yeah, it's we're getting there. Probably, well, I don't know, a little over an inch to slide in there, but that's pretty much all I'm gonna do this evening. But it's getting pretty close, so that's good. New not, you know, the painted up motor mounts there. It's going along. A little rust there. It looks nice, but Look at that sweet exhaust. It goes from what, 2.5 to that is like the worst exhaust system I've ever seen. But I mean, look at those. Look at these welds. They're freaking wow. Someone really put some effort into that. But maybe I'll replace some of that garbage someday. But yeah, that's about it. Well, I'm back at it again. Worked on it a little bit this evening, a little bit last evening. Got the hood on it. The motor is, like structurally in there. So the motor mounts are completely tightened down, and there's no. I think the last video I posted, the transmission had a little bit of space between it and the motor. It is completely bolted together, and it lined up. So just a little tip. One of my buddies told me. So when you're lining up a motor with a transmission, it's actually kind of common sense, but I just didn't do it. I'm an engineer. What do you expect? But anyway, so you loosen these up. I'm guessing they're usually rusty because they're further back on the body. But yeah, just loosen them up so the front end of your transmission can sway around a little bit with the motor, and line it up, and then use alignment pins to wow, that's a really crappy video. Use alignment pins to line up your holes and the input shaft, and it'll work out a lot better for you. Got the slave cylinder wrestled back on there. That's a matter of experience too. So I had a lot of luck with just, taking it off this little clip here by prying out on these tabs, sliding it out, compressing it, just push it together. Actually push it together against this here, and then just once it's compressed, slide it back over onto this fork, and then you're good to go. But when you're compressing it and releasing it, make sure you have a lot of fluid in your reservoir so it pushes all those air bubbles up and out. But yeah, that's back on. Let's see. Well, filled it. Put a nice oil filter on there. Filled it, topped it off with oil. The starter is now bolted back on, and it needs a new set of tires. But yeah, it's coming right along. But this is probably all I'll work on it this evening. But this right here is going to be a problem. So when I took this thing apart, I didn't realize how expensive and valuable these core supports were. So I took a hacksaw to it naturally, which isn't a big deal because I have a welder in my basement, but it needed work anyways, clearly. But where do you get these? I'm wondering, where do you get these body mounts? Because this clearly needs completely replaced. Not necessarily this here, but just the actual bushing itself and the bolt. Is there any websites I should look at, or can I just go to the parts store and buy one? But yeah, no, it's coming along. Electrical is going to be a nightmare. I'm not sure if I'm going to replace all this stuff with the serpentine parts that I have over here, but I might since the front clip is still off. But yep, that's about all for now. All right, so we have another classic fuel supply problem, with the silly old IDI. It's not really rocket science. It just needs fuel to go. It'll light off of a snort of ether, but I don't really want to do that anymore. That's kind of kind of destroys these things. So anyway, it is completely together, and the harness is hodgepodge together, enough for it to run. But so this crappy electric fuel pump right here doesn't have enough oomph to pull the fuel out of the tank by itself. So is there any way I could just use my air compressor to we'll take that return line off and pressurize the tank and push fuel up into the filter here? I mean, it's a pretty easy thing to try. I just want to know if anyone else has destroyed anything by doing that, like something in the pump or something in the tank. Let me know. All right, it's alive in the truck. Oh, now it's dead. Hey, look, it's finally alive. Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, it finally moves again. It's been I don't know, over a year since it ran. Put a new motor in, moves and everything. Couldn't be happier. Still needs some work.